The College Basketball Experience Preseason Coaches Tour edition for George Washington head coach Chris Caputo. Edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome everybody into the College Basketball Experience Preseason Coaches Tour. I can't call it summer anymore because we're in September. But joining us here in a little bit will be the head coach of George Washington, Coach Chris Caputo. Headed into year number 3, he reflects back on his first couple years in the nation's capital at G-Dub. Talks about his time with Coach Larranaga. And, great guy. I've known him basically since I was a kid when I went to a George Mason basketball camp when him and Coach Konkol were the video coordinator and director of operations. So good to catch up with him. Really happy to see the success he's had in his career and looking forward to a big year number 3 in the A-10. But first off, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac tonight over here at the College Basketball Experience. And yes, different camera angle. My camera's not working tonight, so we had to go with the laptop, make adjustments on the fly. Hey, man, got to find a way to produce the show. So we do what we do here over at the College Basketball Experience. We make it happen. And I'll tell you who else is making it happen first off, Coach Caputo is making it happen. But you know who else is making it happen? SGPN, because the war against corporate gambling is heating up, and SGPN needs you to do your part. If you can take a couple seconds and subscribe and review, rate, leave a great review for us over here at the College Basketball Experience. Most importantly, tell a friend, tell your cousin, tell your mom, tell anybody. Word of mouth is the heartbeat at SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. All righty, we are back over here at the College Basketball Experience. Enough hearing me. Let's bring on the head coach of GW, Coach Chris Caputo. And we continue our coaches tour on the College Basketball Experience with the head coach of George Washington, Coach Chris Caputo. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I know busy time as we get closer and closer to November 4th. Fill everybody in what you guys were up to this summer.
Yeah, we had a great summer. Added a number of new guys, like most people, right? Mix of transfers and freshmen. But in a strange way, we actually we returned a fair amount. We're still, I think, on a little bit of the younger in terms of experience end, but we're getting older, whereas last year was one of the really youngest teams in college basketball. And, enjoyed, like most people, working with their guys in the summer. And I think maybe the big difference for me, I used to feel like, you didn't really want to practice in the summer because it made for like a long year. If you were practicing your team, we would do skill work. We would do small group work. I tried not to just be 5-on-5 full team every day, even though it's an hour, like I felt like it was a lot because, you're having practices deep into February. If that starts in June, It makes for a long year, but we tried to find some balance in it. But I do feel like for most teams in this climate, you have so many new players. Your teams are new. There's not as much continuity, and you feel like, you know what, we probably do have to put the team together more than maybe we have in the past.
Yeah, summers have completely changed. Obviously, off seasons with the portal, NIL. But Coach, I want to rewind real quick before we talk about your current team. You played at Westfield State, and then from there you went to George Mason. We were talking about it before the show. You were an ops guy there. You were a video guy there. You dealt with pain in the ass campers like myself growing up in the Fairfax area. But just talk about your early stages of your coaching career and when you knew this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I got very lucky. I knew, I played for a great high school coach in Jack Curran, who, is probably going to wind up in the Hall of Fame, probably should be in the Hall of Fame, was winningest coach in the state of New York. And it was a great program at Archbishop Molloy in New York. And I was lucky that not only to play for Coach Curran and have that experience, but also that Coach Larranaga played there as well. And so while I was Division III player, I played for a guy named Rich Sutter, who's been 25 years at Westfield State and has done a great job there. He had worked at Molloy as an assistant when Kenny Anderson played there back in the late 80s. So I go to Westfield State, have a great experience. I really wanted to see if I could not only coach, but I wanted to try to break into Division I in some way. And really my only way to do that was through Coach Curran and Coach Curran. That connection between him and Coach Larranaga allowed me to get an opportunity at George Mason. I always joke that, my parents paid for paid for school when you're in Division III, you're not on scholarship. And I was so excited to tell my parents that I got a volunteer job, after they had paid for school all those years, that I was going to go work for free. So I guess as a parent now, I could understand them being like, wait, hold on a second. That's not how it's supposed to work. But very fortunate to go to George Mason in 2002. A great staff there. When I got there, obviously Coach, tremendous Hall of Fame head coach, great person, great family. He comes from his wife, his sons, just very lucky to be there. But then also, people like Bill Courtney, who's at Miami now as an assistant, Mike Gillian, who's the director of basketball at IMG, and then Eric Konkol, who came in alongside me, who's now the head coach at Tulsa. We were all together, and all four of us became Division I head coaches. Mike was at Longwood, Bill was the head coach at Cornell, and just a great staff. And just I learned so much from those guys. I thought I knew a lot because I liked college basketball. And I played Division III college basketball, and then you kind of get there and realize, man, I really, really don't know anything. And so 3 years in sort of that video role, and then I was able to get moved up in my fourth year and was lucky enough then for us to make the Final Four in my first full-time year. So a lot of great memories at George Mason and in Fairfax.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. You stayed with Coach Larranaga for basically 20 years out of your career. Yeah. Just talk about the impact he had on you, and just some of the things you took from him and running your own program and headed into your third year.
Yeah. I mean, I just think he's one of the few guys, he really tries to do it the right way. He cares about the players. He loves the game. He's an extremely hard worker. A very, driven basketball man, and really, I think cares about the staff, cares about the players. I don't think there's a lot of guys. I mean, he's coming up on almost 800 wins here.
Yeah,
I'm hoping he'll get to 800 here in the next year or two. There's not many guys who have done that amount of winning. At jobs that I don't think people necessarily think are the easiest jobs of all time. When you go to Bowling Green in the 80s, and then you're at George Mason in the 90s and the early 2000s, a place that at the time it had 7 straight losing seasons when he got there. And then to Miami. When we went to Miami, I don't think anybody necessarily thought Miami was, one of the best jobs in the ACC or anything like that. In fact, you could make a case. The way we were operating back then, it was really one of the more difficult high major jobs. And yet, he's won, at every level at those places, and certainly at George Mason and Miami to make the Final Four. Those are not programs that are necessarily synonymous with playing into the third weekend. And there's only one guy to do that, and that's him. So, learn so much from him, take a lot of the things and big philosophy picture things. And yet, you have to try to be yourself, and we're not the same person. It's probably why we worked very well together throughout the years. So you're trying to, do the as much as we can in terms of big philosophy things, while, being myself as best I can be.
Yeah, as somebody that grew up in Fairfax, it was unbelievable what he was able to build at Mason, and you were there every step of the way. Coach, let me ask you, so you make the transition 2 years ago, the 18 inches that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
What was the biggest change, just your day-to-day lifestyle, how you approach things, making that transition?
Yeah, it's funny you ask. I felt like I was very well prepared by Coach Larranaga.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is very funny is I took a job, like a lot of people, at a time that is incredibly different.
Yep.
I think that was the biggest adjustment. It's not hey, coaching the games is hard. You're coaching in the A-10. There's great coaches in this league. And yet that's, for me, that part of it, I think I was prepared for. I prepared 20 years to try to, do that to the best of my ability. And you obviously working to get better every year at that and preparing your team better and how you practice and things like that. But I had a lot of confidence in what that would look like and how I'd go about that. And what was different is you think about all the things you did and said, okay, here's the blueprint as to how we should try to do it at this place. And then we went immediate eligibility transfers, coming off COVID, so there were visits, NIL. Now it's unlimited transfers. And so, that part of it, of being nimble and being able to adjust on the fly at a place when you're trying to build it, it's a lot easier to adjust on the fly when you've got it going a certain way and you're in a position of strength. When you're trying to build, it's hard to be strategic when the rules are changing literally in the middle. I mean, last year the rules changed in the middle of the season.
Yes.
In terms of like guys being eligible and what have you. So from that perspective, I think that's been the biggest challenge. But when you work for great people and with great people, you learn a lot and you spend the time. There's going to be some things that come up that are very challenging, but I was very prepared. I felt like by being with Coach.
Yeah, it's funny, like when we bring on different coaches and the ones that have took jobs around 2021, 22, like yourself, it's different job, or it's a different industry than when you started. So, Coach, let me ask you about the league you're in. It's one of my favorite leagues. It's a basketball league, the A-10. Yeah. A lot of really good coaches, a lot of really good programs that have been to the dance, won in the dance, like GW. What's just your thoughts going through the A-10 two times around, headed into your third year?
Yeah, it's a great league. Our first year, we went 10-8 in the league. It was the first winning record in 6 years. I was really proud of that because it's such a great league and great coaches. Last year, we were 14-3 in mid-January and 3-1, and with some good wins at VCU, Davidson at home, Mason by I think 15 points. They had a great year. And then we just had a rash of injuries that we couldn't overcome. But look, I don't think there's a big difference between the type of player we need in this league to win and the type of player we needed in the ACC. I really don't. And I think you look at our league last year, you get two teams in the final 32 in Dayton and Duquesne, and neither of those teams won our regular season. Right, that was Richmond and Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago, they finished in last place. They came in and win the league. Richmond had a losing record in the league the year before, came in and won the league. It's a league that's very, very deep. You have a lot of people trying to be successful in basketball. It's a league that is filled with older players. A lot of some of the teams are quite old, quite experienced, and extremely well coached league. Obviously, I mean, you think about some of the guys in our league, and then, I think I said this before the year. One of the things that had happened during the COVID era and maybe the years prior is that there just was not a lot of continuity within the programs, a lot of coaching changes. I think it's hard, especially in this environment, when there is instability in the landscape, to then put instability on the rosters and then instability in the coaching chairs. When you look at our league now, you have some great coaches that are, been in the league quite a while, or guys now, who have started to establish programs over a few years. And I think you'll see the league just get better and better.
Yeah, it's a good mix of really established coaches, whether it's Coach Schmidt at the Bonaventure, you got Coach Mooney at Richmond, obviously my former boss Frank at UMass, and then you got a bunch of good up and coming guys, somebody you coach and Tony Skinn. But Coach, let me ask you, you're at a unique job because you're right there in the nation's capital. What makes GW such a unique and special place to coach and work at every day?
Well, I think we're the best city campus in America. I think we've just got an incredible campus, but we are a city campus in a great city, in a location that's really it's unlike any other place. Walk to the White House, walk to the Lincoln Memorial, walk to the Potomac River, walk to the Georgetown waterfront. Top 60 school in the country academically, private. It's one of the most expensive schools in the country. This place from 1991 to 2016 had been the 17 postseasons in 25 years. A good run. Sweet 16, 1993, NIT champions, top 10 in the country in the mid-2000s. It can be done here. It has been done here. And it's been done by different coaches. Coach Jarvis, Carl Hobbs, Mike Lonergan, Tom Penders. Like, those guys all went to the NCAA tournament. And yet, changing landscape, COVID, leadership changes, it had fallen on hard times for a number of different reasons. Nobody's fault in particular. Some of it out of the control of the people. But our job is to sort of bring this back to where it was, and yet we've got some work to do because it takes time. And again, I felt like last year, we were on a good track with the third youngest roster in the country, playing the third most freshmen in the country. And yet, we're 14-3, and I'm thinking, hey, we're probably out a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but maybe we can finish strong. And then we had two injuries, one to Garrett Johnson, and the other to Darren Buchanan. Garrett for the year. Darren was out about a month. Those are two of the best freshmen, not just in the A-10, in my opinion, but in the country when you look at their numbers. And we just couldn't withstand the loss of those guys on an already young group of guys. But I think, again, we've got some stability within the program, and we got new leadership with our president, Ellen Granberg, athletic director, Michael Lippitz. Feel really good about where we're going forward.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you guys are super busy. You got to get back to work. I want to leave you with one last question. You mentioned it. You're a little bit older this year, playing a great league. What's your message for the GW fan base that will watch this episode headed into year 3 of the Chris Caputo era?
Yeah, I mean, I think stay with us. I think we feel like we can do what we were getting ready to do last year, in terms of having a league, a season where we could have a great record in the league, good record overall, and then have a lot of really good young players in the program that we could then retain to build out for the long-term future of the program. And that's my job, I think, is to build out a program that is sustainable over time. And I think doing it in this way, while there's been some bumps, look, we were 24-11 from like January 1 of 23 to January 16th of 24. So it's there. We've got really good young players in the program, and we're going to get better and better.
Well, Coach Caputo, I can't wait for A-10 Hoops. Can't wait to see you guys.
Hey, how did West Virginia football do last week?
I know you're a Penn State guy. I was at the game.
You were there?
Yeah, I was in Morgantown. So yeah, we got our ass kicked. That's the answer to that. But I will say Penn State's pretty damn good.
They're good.
So
They're good. Yeah. Don't give up. Don't keep the faith.
No, hey, I'm not a front runner, so we're on to Albany, and then we got Pitt the following week. So we got to win the brawl. I'll give up Penn State if it means.
Are you going to the brawl? Are you going to the brawl?
I am not going to go to the brawl. I got a wedding that weekend, and it's at Pitt. I don't really like to go up to Pitt, so I like the home games. I like being in home territory. So
all right, good. All right,
yep.
All right, brother. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you stopping by the college basketball experience, and best of luck this season. And definitely look forward to having you back on. Sounds great. Thanks, Coach. Right. Coach Caputo of GW. Clearly, that didn't age well because we did not win the Brawl of the Mountaineers this weekend. So he's a Penn State guy. But, yeah, appreciate him taking the time to come on and join us. Like I said, man, I've known Coach Caputo since I was a little kid. He was one of my camp counselors at George Mason when Tony Skinn was there. Now the head coach at George Mason, Coach Konkol over there at Tulsa. So looking forward to seeing them in year number 3. And it's GW, man. They're headed in the right direction. Had some injuries, but, I mean, you look at what he did in year number 1, 10-8 in A-10 play. Took a step back this year, but he likes his team coming back. And, yeah, I can't wait to cover them every single day of the year once we get to November 4th. And A-10 Media Days are right around the corner as well on October 1st. So sneak peek, I think we will have some coverage at that event. So, yeah, let's pay the bills on the way out because over here at the College Basketball Experience, we're brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business. BetUS has been around for 30 years. Bet anywhere. The BetUS is available in tons of locations, including internationally. BetUS just launched their all-new live betting experience. Use our link to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN, so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Build your model over there at Rhythm today. It had K-State -7 last weekend. That was a winner. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. We are back on the college basketball experience, and we will be back in about a half hour from now. So make sure you tune in. Me and Noah Beanick will be breaking down Memphis basketball. They just released their non-con schedule. Go check out the one we did on McNeese State last night, and go check out all our conference previews. We've done the Southland. We've done the Patriot. We've done the MEAC. We've done the SWAC. There's one other one we did. We've done 5, so I'm missing one. But yeah, the Mountain West is later this week. And yeah, we're going to continue to keep bringing you guys coverage all year long over at the College Basketball Experience as we head into the November 4th opener. I mean, we are less than 50 days, guys. We're 48 days away. I did the math today. Less than 7 weeks from tipping it off, McNeese State versus South Dakota State and a bunch of other really good openers. And we're going to have some more coaches. We're going to have some more coaches on preseason tour. Continue this and get some at media days. We will announce what media days we will be covering. Of course, it'll probably be primarily on the East Coast, but we will get to as many as we can to give you guys the best coverage headed into the college basketball season. Go check out the college football experience as well. That season's still going on. Colby and those guys go live every Tuesday night with their pick show. Go check out the FCS experience. Go check out the Big 12 experience. And, of course, keep checking out the college basketball experience, your place for college basketball all year long. That's all I got, everybody. Thank you to Coach Caputo of G-Dub. Can't wait to get to a G-Dub game this year. And this has been another edition of Mac Tonight, signing off over here at the College Basketball Experience. November 4th is coming, and you better start thinking about yours. And we are out of here.